You are here for the roadmap to your memoir masterclass. And today I'm going to show you how you can write your memoir without tearing your hair out or it taking years. Make the best publishing decision for your book and how to market it to become a bestseller, even without a huge following, with my signature system, Memoir Sherpa. I think that you are really capable of, despite any of your fears and possible imposter syndrome, to become an author. And likely you're able to become a best selling author. You can bring new ideas, comfort, and inspiration to your readers that need to hear your story. And I think the question is that time now? If you're watching this right now, it's probably now or very soon. If you stay to the end of this masterclass, it'll be an hour, hopefully a little less. I'll give you the opportunity to get your hands on a special bonus that I just added to my new program. One is an exclusive interview with an author, ghostwriter, and editor who has written many, 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 many books for HarperCollins. A lot that you've read probably, but we'll never know if they were ghostwritten by him. His name is Jamie Blaine. And again, this is not available to anyone on my blog or my website or YouTube. It's secret just for us. And then also a discovery prompt worksheet that you should do before you start writing any book. I'd love to ask you to just turn off your cell phone, shut down all the windows on your computer, close the door. I just want you to make sure that you feel like your time is well spent and it's not distracted. Also, grab a pen and a paper, however it is that you write or take notes, stylus on your iPad or your keyboard, as there'll be things that I'll be asking you to do pretty quickly. And of course, you might want to take notes. The first thing that I want to talk about today actually is what you might write about. Close your eyes or keep them open and think of the top 3 things that have happened to you in your life that are amazing, successful inflection points. So, the top 3 things as you look back on your life, the big, big inflection points. Remember how you felt. Where were you? Who are you with? You don't have to get too terribly engrossed in the details, but I just want you to jot down those 3 things and start just noting the scene. What was it like? Okay. Now, next, think of the 3 lowest points in your life. How did you rebound from those times? Did you learn something incredibly important? Did it push you to a better place in life? Now, one thing I'd love to ask you to do, and no one has to see this, and this does not have to go in your book, is to jot down, and if you need to do it in secret code language, that's fine too. Jot down a couple of things that have happened to you that are incredibly vulnerable, that you may not want other people to know right now, that you think are a little taboo, your deepest, darkest secrets. That's really important to start thinking about is becoming vulnerable. It's really the best way for people to latch onto your book, really trust and understand you, and go along the ride with you. So everything doesn't have to go into your book, but this might be a chapter. It might be one of the paragraphs. It may even be the main topic of your entire book, one of these 6 things that you just listed. I'd like to say to you, congratulations. You actually just started writing your memoir. So you're in the right place right now. If you've been told by other people that you have an amazing story that should be a book or a movie, or you've always known that you needed to write your story. Have you always hoped, wished, or known that you were going to write a book? Did you know as a kid? Did you know as a teenager? Did you know in the last 10 years? You're in the right place if you know that writing a book will help raise the perception of your hard-earned authority. Not to say that this book is going to give you the actual authority, but that it will raise the perception and people will know about who you are and what you're excellent at and what your story is, how you got there. I'd love for you to answer in the chat which one of these three resonates with you, of the three things of why you might be here. Put them in the chat if you dare. Whatever your reason for being here, I fully support you. And I'm really, really honored to be part of this journey of what will be your legacy. I'm going to take a few minutes just to introduce myself to you if we haven't met. I'm from Des Moines, Iowa, in the middle of the country, but I live in Oakland, California. I love being on the water. I love going kayaking on the estuary. And I have a 27-year-old daughter, Bennett, who's also an excellent writer. She hasn't published anything in book form yet. And Bennett has a rescue dog named Bug, which means I have a rescue dog named Bug. And then I have two cats, Delilah and Ophelia, who I also refer to as Squeaky and the Destroyer. And one day, I really want to be able to write a book with my daughter about Squeaky and the Destroyer for kids. A little bit more about me. My book was number one on barnesandnoble.com on over 10 Amazon categories. I'm still number one upon occasion, really depends on the hour. I spent 4 years researching how to write, publish, and market a book and turning over stones in this antiquated industry so you don't have to run through the gauntlet. I've interviewed literary agents, and I actually had two of them, traditional and hybrid publishers, as well as professional publishers. My book today so far has won 12 literary awards, and it was published in March of 2022. I'm also an entrepreneur, and I've been on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies in America, which I'm very proud of, and I'm really excited to share all of this with you. Instead of frustration, I found a passion in learning about the facets of the publishing industry and how to launch a bestseller book. I am crazy excited about this whole thing. I learned what the best choice of publishing for me for this book was, regardless of anything that I had published in the past or anything that I'm going to publish in the future. And I figured out the right pieces of marketing. It's a puzzle to get the word out about my book and hit the bestseller lists. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like if you're a best-selling author of the story of your life. If you inspired and motivated and even transformed people's lives, what would it feel like to hear people saying they couldn't put your book down? Can you imagine what it would feel like when your book lands on a bestseller list? What it feels like when you've successfully raised your authority, when you're a coveted guest on a podcast, in a magazine article, or TV show? Give me a yes if you can feel it. I can tell you how amazing it feels, and it will feel that way for a long time. My book was published 8 or 9 months ago, and it's almost as if it just happened. It can also be a very cathartic experience, lead to hidden secrets and discoveries. Believe me, there's some things that came out from writing my book and then publishing that I would have never found out had I not done this endeavor. This is also an incredible way to leave a legacy for the people in your family, in your community, and your business to read and get to know you and the lessons now, but also long after you're gone. If you're anything like me and you want to know what's going to happen on the rest of this masterclass, I'm going to just walk you through it. We are going to talk about the secrets to a successful memoir, the myths of publishing options, master marketing strategies, how to work with me if you want, and then I'm going to answer as many questions as I can. No one cares about you, your story, or your book. They care about themselves and how your book makes them feel, if it motivates them or entertains them or educates them. What is the most crucial point or lesson or message of your story? If you don't know it now, keep this in mind as you think about your memoir. You might be writing this book for yourself and or your business, but you have to be thinking about what your reader wants. Otherwise, no one's going to read it. These are some of the things that make a book impossible to put down. Number one, irresistible hook points, beautiful prose, edge of seat scenes, tugging at the heartstrings, vulnerability. If you leave this masterclass with nothing else, know that it is your vulnerable moments that you're honest and raw about that will set your memoir apart from anyone else's. Truth, honesty, and being humble. You do not have to be an amazing writer now to make this happen. Ask yourself the following and jot down thoughts and ideas that come up when you read or listen to these. What will readers glean from your story? Will they laugh or will they cry? Hopefully, both. Will what they're going through be reflected in what you write? And will they be inspired and motivated by what you went through and what you've achieved? So let's talk about three really famous and successful memoirs that are, in my opinion, written really well, were hard to put down, and had messages that resonated with me. The first one was by a writer who wasn't famous before she published. She was a writer for newspapers and such. And this book was published traditionally. It's Jeanette Wall's The Glass Castle. The second one was from someone who had a really big following with a niche audience. And this was hybrid published by David Goggins. The third one is Untamed by Glennon Doyle, who had a following with her blog for moms mostly, and wrote her first memoir, Love Warrior, with a stunning follow-up that shocked me called Untamed. One thing that these books had in common were they talked about family and stories of adversity. What is one theme that would summarize the story you want to tell? If you don't know it yet, make a list of themes and keep them close at hand. If you want to put it in the chat too, I would love to see it. We're going to talk about myths of publishing paths. Do you really need to be published by a traditional publisher? These are the questions you could ask yourself. Do you require the prestige that comes with a traditional publishing deal? Do you need an advance? Do you need money to sustain you while you write this book? Are you willing to give up your IP or intellectual property? I want to tell you about the actually five major houses. It's Penguin Random House and Simon and Schuster. Penguin Random House was trying to buy Simon and Schuster. They got knocked down in court. Who knows where it's going to go from there? Then there's Hachette, HarperCollins, and Macmillan. Hybrid publishing is similar to traditional publishing. It produces a professional book. It's distributed with multiple points of sale and undertakes some of the marketing activities on behalf of the book. Some of the marketing, not a lot, not all. And I just want you all to know right now that traditional publishers are not going to be your key to the universe. You have to do a lot of hard work. With hybrid publishers, you can retain your own IP. You get about 50 to 85% of the royalties, which is the inverse of traditional. And the royalties is sales after printing and overhead. The author, you, have to do most of the heavy lifting for publicity, media placement, promotion, etc. So you're basically partnering more evenly with a hybrid publisher versus traditional. This list that I have here is just a partial list. I'm not recommending any of these because I haven't personally had a book go through them, but I know Page Two, Amplify, really good service that I've heard from other authors. And I actually know the founder of Amplify, and the rest of them on there are well known and well liked for the most part. There's a third way of publishing. It's professional publishing. You would publish on their label. They do all of the work in getting your ISBN, all of the back of the house, back of the scenes work. It's more of a work for hire. So you're paying them outright. They don't own anything. And I didn't really talk about ranges of how much you would invest with traditional and hybrid. We can talk about that more in depth offline. But with professional publishing, you're going to pay anywhere from 6,000 to 26,000. So that might be a big surprise to you, but that's about the range. And it really depends on what they're doing for you. Are they doing any editing? Are they doing any book cover? Are they doing any of the author bio writing, etc.? They'll usually work with any author. You don't need a proposal, regardless of your topic, the quality of your work, the quality of your cover. However, they are able to say, oh, we're, booked up, we're too busy. Or if it's not something that they want on their label, if it's something that doesn't agree with their core values, they can say no. Then the last and the fourth way to publish is self-publishing. This is no publisher logo or label on the spine or the back cover. You do most of the work, the design, the layout. Of course, you can hire someone else to do that. And then you upload to the site that you're going to publish on, and it's published as an ebook or a print on demand. You could probably get your manuscript onto a printing press for offset printing, but that's not why people self-publish. And they will work with you regardless of any topic, quality of work, cover, for the most part. So I want you to look at this graphic here. This is from a friend of mine that published a book. And you can see under product details, it says independently published. Now, that's not the kiss of death, but if you've worked so hard on your book and you want people to really regard you highly, you probably want a little bit of a step above. I'd love to know, post in the chat after hearing this, which publishing path you think would be best for you. Doesn't mean that you're going to definitely have to go down that route. The time to start marketing your book is, drum roll please, when you decide to write it. And if that's today, then you can start today. Take your community on the journey with you. Where and when do you write? Post it on social media. Write in a blog or an email to have them join you in the process. Start putting together your marketing plan, which will shift shape over the course of the project, I promise you. Think about what outcomes you want. What are the key metrics or key performance indicators that in the business world we refer to as KPIs? What is it that you're going to measure? Is it the number of books sold? Is it the number of reviews that you are going to get? Is it the number of speaking engagements or how many speaking engagements at a certain amount of money? Or the quality of interviews? Yes, you need to have a master marketing plan. And I really suggest that you do one that is at least 12 months in duration. You're not just going to launch your book and that's it, or launch and market your book for 3 months and you're done. In my program, Memoir Sherpa, I give my students all of the templates I used for my launch. You can do this yourself with the following. You can create a document outlining each strategy. I suggest a Google Doc or Google Sheets. Indicate the start date, the goal, the budget, the desired outcome, so that you know what you're heading toward, how much it's going to cost, and you can measure the return on investment. Then you can indicate who on your team. And if you don't have a huge team, it's okay. You can use a virtual assistant, an assistant, your family, someone that works with you. Indicate who's responsible for each one of those strategies and revisit those plans and note the status. I would do it weekly. Amazon allows you to select 2 categories. You can ask Amazon to open up 8 more. You can use software that I actually have access to called Publisher Rocket for category research. I was number 1, The Relentless book, my memoir, in the following categories for various periods of time and end up there occasionally: motivation, entrepreneurs, women in business, memoir, inspiration, self-help, jazz musician biographies, and classical musicians. A few things that you can consider, and these are just a few things that I did, is doing an advanced reader team program where you get a lot of people ahead of time on your pre-sale to say, yes, I'll read your book and I'll write a review. And you give it to them for free. Then they buy it on Amazon for 99 cents. If you can get your publisher to set it for that, you could do an influencer campaign, and I'll show you a screenshot of mine in the next slide. You can do a pre-order sales strategy. My book was number one in 3 categories on Amazon for 2 weeks before it even was able to be bought. You could buy it, but you couldn't receive it. Podcast guesting, really hot right now. What a great way to share other people's audiences and get on other people's stages. Publicity, social media plan, at least 12 months. A book launch event, either in person or virtual, is fine. You could do a Goodreads giveaway. And if you don't know what Goodreads is, it's a platform for book lovers to share what they're reading, what they want to read, interact with each other. It's also owned by Amazon. And there's this new app in town called the Bookie Call app. If you don't know about it, you got to check it out. This is my influencer campaign page. You can see these are all the people that said yes to my ask of being on my influencer campaign. Now, I asked about just under 100. I really can't count how many photos are here, but I think we sent out about 75 boxes because I did an influencer box that just was amazing. One of the things in the influencer box is actually this 14 karat gold necklace that I had designed. And in my handwriting, it says relentless on it. And everyone in the influencer program was able to get a box full of incredible goodies. What is one marketing strategy you think you'd implement? Now, by the way, I had a 25-point monster marketing plan. And in the program, I go through everything that I did, everything that I scratched, and a spoiler alert, the one thing that I removed from my plan was releasing an NFT project. My audience just wasn't there yet, and it probably would have killed me, honestly. In that plan, I really suggest and I tell you what has worked, what I wouldn't do again, what I would do again if I were more famous or well known, and those kind of things. So I can save you hours and hours and hours of time, a lot of money. I can't even tell you how much I spent. Actually, I'm going to tell you here soon. During the session, you actually started writing your memoir. I love that. It's a little sneaky, but I'd love to be a part of helping you get it to the finish line and marketing it. At this point, you have 2 options. You could write it on your own. It might take you a lot of time. It may end up costing you a lot of money. Or you could work with me and get your book done in as little as 8 months. I'm going to tell you that is fast, but it is doable. Can you imagine at about this time next year, you could be launching your book? Caveat on that is there are certain times to release certain different topic books. We're heading into the holidays right now. It may be a perfect time. If you have an inspirational or motivational book, you might want to do it in January when a lot of people set their intentions and their goals for the coming year. If you are ready for option 2, then I'd like to invite you to join me in my Memoir Sherpa guided program where I walk through each step with you. The program is my signature system for writing your book, deciding the best publishing option, and marketing it so it becomes a best-selling book, if that's important to you. If becoming a best-selling author is not important to you, that's fine. We do not have to go there. You'll have a system for writing your book that will significantly cut the time, pain, and anguish, and possibly a lot of money in half or more. You'll be able to have a beautifully written book that doesn't read like an essay or your journal. You'll end up with a polished manuscript without gaping holes and errors. You'll have clarity on the best book title and chapter titles. And I will tell you right now, that was one of the hardest things for me for my book was the book title. You'll understand exactly how to get all of the other parts of your book in motion, like the foreword, the author bio, the endorsements, all of those things. You'll know what publishing path is right for you for this particular book, and you'll learn what you need to do in order to market your book so it becomes a bestseller. This is a very brief overview of the various modules and steps in the program. So inflection point curation, writing chapters, color dynamics, all the way to design and layout. Publishing Pass has its own module, so we can really dive deep and figure out what's best for you now. And then the marketing strategy, which honestly could be its own program standalone. I spent over 4 years and over $95,000 in coaching, editing, and researching all of these things. And I want to pass my knowledge and passion on to you for your writing project. The Complete Memoir Sherpa program has a value of $40,000. 10 plus training modules to take you from the idea to the finished manuscript. There's videos, audio, PDF guides, swipe files, templates, and a library of trade tool links. We will go over the bonuses now. They are live Q&A sessions with me, also with other experts and people in the industry. We'll do readings out loud. We'll do hot seats. So it's not just Q&A, it's not just office hours, it's really fun, actually. I just wanna let you know, yes, I have a lot of things that I have accomplished and a lot of things that I've done, but I am not special. I just worked really hard, diligently, I was laser focused, and over the course of those 4 years, I developed a signature system that will save you so much time and effort. I'm really proud of it, and as you can tell, pretty passionate about it. In addition to the live Q&A sessions, we're going to give you how to create sales pages in your book and sticky calls to actions so that people, after they read your book or when they're reading it, during it, or even before, they're in contact with you and that you get their information. You can just like lay some Easter eggs in the book. These things that I did with my book, I want to share with you. Yes, there is a 14-day risk-free guarantee. If you do the program for the first 2 modules and you just decide it's not for you, then we will return your money. The third thing is secrets to audiobook recording. Learn how to source and qualify a good recording studio, how to prepare before you get into the studio, what to expect during the studio sessions, things to watch for or avoid, how long it'll take, how much it will cost, what you get at the end, like what kind of files, and what to do with them after. Do you put them on Audible exclusively? Do you put them on all of the other platforms? The total program value is over $51,000. I'm sure that at this point you'd like to know how much it's going to cost for you. I could charge $50,000 for this program. And if you work with me one-on-one, actually, this is about how much it would cost. I've seen a couple of well-known celebrities that are teaching how to write and publish a best-selling book, and they do not go into as much detail or depth than this course does. I really don't understand how people get a published book at the end of these programs, but that's up to them. I'll be charging no less than $5,500 for this program the next time I launch it. So you can get started with me today for $3,500. I will never run this program for this amount again. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one, there will be an option at checkout. The fee for working with me for every week to start is $12,000 for 12 weeks. Once again, if you're excited and ready to get started, click the link and sign up for either the full pay option or pay over 6 months. Before we go any further, I want to talk to you about some of the things that you'll come to understand and overcome. I had all of these fears myself, that you're not a good enough writer. I was a songwriter. I can write some good copy sometimes, but I'm not an author. Well, I am now. Fear that your story isn't interesting enough, fear that you won't sell any books. And does anyone know the average amount of books that any author sells in the lifetime of their book? Not just in the first week or the first year, but forever. The number is pretty astounding. And I don't want you to have that number. I want you to have a really big number. That number is, and it vacillates, it depends on who you talk to, about 250. That's not a lot. That is not enough for all of your hard work, your experience, and your authority. You might have fear that you won't get a traditional publishing deal. You might have fear that you don't have a big following or list, or you may not know how to start the writing process. Once again, if you're excited, you're ready to get started, click the link, sign up. I would love to work with you. I'll also be asking for your mailing address because I'm going to send you the Memoir Sherpa Guide workbook. You can use that. You can use that you prefer to use, but I'm hearing back from my students that they really love the book. Once you sign up, you'll check your email to find the login details. Then you'll log into Kajabi, which is our learning management system. I love it. It's a really cool platform. Then you'll click on View Course in the members area and watch the welcome video and start from there. If you want to make payments, there's also an option to do a 6-pay. If you choose this option, the modules will be unlocked for you over a period of time. Once again, click the link. I'm not exactly sure why you attended this masterclass today, but perhaps it's because you've been told that your story is amazing and it needs to be heard. You've been thinking about writing a book, but you didn't know when or where to start. You want to write your book, but you need help making it happen. You cannot do this on your own. I want to write a book, but you may not want to put this in the chat, but if you're brave enough, I'd love to see it. And I can see your answers on my screen. Your story is special. Even though it may be similar to others, you had your own thoughts and feelings and experiences, and your voice and takeaways are different. You'd be surprised at how many people will relate to your story and thank you. You might just inspire and motivate someone. You might think you're not a good writer. You don't actually have to be a good writer. That's where artificial intelligence, editors, and this community and program comes into play. Also, you're going to be a much better writer than you ever thought you could be by the end of this program. I'm a much better writer after releasing this first book. There are a lot of people that have good stories and ideas that publish best-selling books that can't write themselves out of a paper bag. You may not have time. This system and program will cut months, if not years, off of writing this book. So if not now, when? You may not think that you're famous enough. I don't think you have to be famous, honestly. I'm not famous. I'm well known in a couple of niches, and I've sold over 7,000 books at this point. Here's the link again, and I'm ready for Q&A. I would love to know if there's anything that you have questions about. If they are, put them in the chat. Karina, that's a really good point. I really love that you brought this up. Karina wrote, I want to write a book, but I need to accomplish more before I have enough of a contrast to share my story publicly. You may be absolutely right. You could start writing your book now because the things that have happened to you already, those aren't going to change. Your consideration of them and the way that you frame it or see it through your lens may change over time. But I actually wouldn't have been able to write this book 10 years ago because I didn't have the distance from a lot of the successes and a lot of the challenges. And I think that writing a book too soon, or actually releasing it too soon, actually is the challenge. So I'm right there. Kale asks, how many books have I sold on Audible? Oh, I think I've sold about 150 so far. I was using Audible exclusively. And then after about month 4, I took it off the platform exclusively, which just means I'm going to get this wrong, but I was making about 70% royalty if I were exclusive to Audible. When I left that exclusive program, I get maybe 25 or 30%, but it's now on so many different platforms that you don't have to have an expensive subscription for. And soon, as I redo my website, I'll be able to sell the book right through my website and retain so much more of the royalties, and it might be easier for people to read. Thank you for that. And Tally, she's curious how a memoir would help her business. That's wonderful. Tally, I'm going to tell you this. I didn't write my memoir specifically to help my core business, Entire Productions. But since I wrote so much about it toward the end, My clients, artists, my staff actually read it, which seems a little vulnerable. But I think because of that, they have stayed very loyal to me and to the company, and they've got my back. There are stories and there's ways to write a memoir which really point straight to your business. However, as you can see, I have created some other businesses from this memoir that I didn't even know that I would even be interested in. And this has become a serious passion of mine. And it's like my third act. What's a good budget for hybrid publishing from Kale? Hybrid publishers are going to try to sell you as many services as they can because it's difficult for them to make money or make a profit on just publishing your book and relying on the small amount of money that they're going to make from each sale. So they're going to see if they could get you editing or a ghostwriter. They might charge you for some marketing. It's really all over the board, and you can choose what you want and what you don't. I think I saw a hybrid publishing contract, and I can double check and look at this if you want to email me, for about $35,000. I don't know if that's average, but just know this, you're going to spend money. And honestly, if you work the system and you work the book, it's so worth it. My speaking fee right now has gone up to $20,000 per keynote. I'd say that's worth it. Okay, so Karina asks, would you still have wanted to write your story if you didn't have so much success? It seems like the story is more popular with huge wins. Karina, the wins for me were huge, but in light of lots of other people's lives, they might not be as huge to them. However, I do think that, I went from so low to pretty high, but there's a lot of memoirs where, you don't have to be abused by your family and then win the Pulitzer. By the way, I've not win the I think that people are looking for inspiration and motivation in a lot of people's stories. Think about anything that's on Netflix or on Hulu. In fact, by the way, my book is being optioned for a feature film right now. I thought it would be best as like a Netflix special like Made was, which was a 10 segment series, but I was told by this producer, no, your book needs to be a feature film. Now, there are other films that are beautiful that don't have those huge arcs. So I know a little bit about your story and I would like to know about it. When I first met you, you were like at the top of your career. You were the epitome of beauty and success. And I don't know a lot about how you started, but I'd love to know that story. Please send me an email to Natasha at natashamiller.com so that I can send you those two things, the interview with Jamie and the getting started prompts. I want to thank everyone for coming. I hope that you work with me with the Memoir Sherpa program, and I'll see you all in another realm. Bye bye.